Hey everybody, good morning. It's Thursday and I'm running a little bit behind this morning. I'm driving. I know I shouldn't be on my phone driving, but I figured since I'm about to pull in the church in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I figured I'm okay. Since I am now in the parking lot of the church, so don't freak out too much on me. I hope everyone is doing well this morning. Wanted to jump on real quick to say hello. Got a little bit of a devotion here this morning. Good morning, Rita. Morning, Brian. I'm gonna walk with you guys into my office here, so just hang on. Yeah, I'm running a little bit late this morning. Had a few things this morning at home, so is what it is. All right, bear with me, guys. It's a beautiful day. Hope everyone is doing good. Walk in here and see who's here this morning. All right. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. All our ladies here. They're here. Hello, Campbells. Good to see you. All right. How's everyone doing? What are you up to this morning? Let me know. Give a little shout out this morning. Let there be light. My youngest daughter has a job this morning, and so she got a job over at a print shop. So we're getting her to work and getting all the kids taken care of. Summer has begun, and so they're all doing their thing. Okay, guys, bear with me 1 minute. I'm going to throw this up here, and we can do a short devotion together. Oh, you're here at the church. That's right. I see you. I see you on Tuesday mornings, Rita. All right. Good morning. Good morning. I kind of got the picture right in the right spot right there. So got my ears in my mane. Well, you guys, how's the summer so far? Kids are out of school. For those of you who have kids, the weather is heating up. It's going to be in the 90s this week, so it's going to be warm. It was a beautiful, short but beautiful spring. I really enjoyed the past couple weeks. It's been just awesome weather. And yeah, it's been good. Don't really want to get started too much on the state of things in our culture. Let's just say this: it's an incredible opportunity for the church to stand for truth and to shine as lights in the darkness, to be the salt of the earth. As many of you know, June 1st started off the beginning of Pride Month. And the fact that we would even recognize that as something to people would recognize that as something to celebrate, is a tragic commentary on the state of our collective conscience, the state of our moral guideline, moral compass as a nation and as a people, that we have really truly normalized an aberrant behavior, something that God is specifically against God's design and against nature and against common sense and logic. It's a work of the flesh, like everything else, something that's broken in our humanity because of sin, that we are now celebrating. And the Bible has made it clear, woe to those who call evil good and good evil, and we have certainly come to that. And this month, it seems like it's just been a sort of a cancer, in the sense that it's that little wildfire that spreads, and people, companies are now realizing that if they don't jump on this bandwagon to celebrate homosexuality and LGBTQ plus lifestyle, transitioning, opening and affirming transgenderism, especially, which is, by the way, just completely demonic, and that's a whole nother study for another time in regards to the demonic nature of that specifically. But the whole categorization of these things, which is really a demonic lie designed to steal identity and to take people from who they were created to be in Christ and in the image of God, and celebrating this thing. And so I don't think you can go anywhere now. I don't think you can shop anywhere, go anywhere without seeing some gay pride flag, some company that's bowing the knee to these cultural lies and to the pressure of the minority. And we say minority, but statistics are shocking now in regards to the percentage of people, especially in Gen Z, who now identify as LGBTQ. I think it's somewhere upwards of 30%, and that's not because this is an issue that's actually a reality. It's because we have been indoctrinating our students, indoctrinating our next generation, lying to them, and opening the door to demonic deception. And we can't be shocked. I mean, it's certainly saddening. It's certainly infuriating, but we also can't be shocked that the world is embracing the lies of Satan. They don't have Christ. They don't have the Spirit of God. They don't receive the truth. We shouldn't be shocked that the world is doing what they're doing, but we do need to ask ourselves as Christians, where is our line? And our line is, of course, the truth of God's word, that we stand on it, we hold fast to it, even when all culture is against us and the world is against us. We don't stop proclaiming the truth of what God said, how he created us, and what he created us for. And so the gospel is needed more than ever. We need to stand strong in our witness. We need to stand strong against the lies that are being perpetrated. And you know, quite frankly, the reason why people are saying, you know, we're going to boycott Target, we're going to stop shopping at places like Target, is because places like Target have decided that they want to be on the front lines of promoting and accepting and pushing an agenda that's damaging human beings, that is perpetuating a lie that is enslaving young people. And so this is why. And it's now we do need to be honest here that the line gets blurry, because as Christians, you know, we have to live. God knows we have to live. We have to eat. We have to do all these things, and so I think we have to be careful, because if we start saying we're gonna boycott every company, every organization that supports anything within the LGBTQ world, well, friends, let's be honest, everybody does now. I mean, it might not be blatant, but it seems like every major company is giving money to or supporting some sort of inclusion policies that are straight from the pit of hell. And so we have to be careful, but we do have to take a stand, especially when we're dealing with these organizations that are on the front lines of promoting this ideology. You know, at least there are some companies out there still saying, you know, we want to recognize that not everyone is in this camp, and we need to honor and respect where people are coming from. But places like Target, you know, they want to be on the front lines, and so they're going to get the battle, and they should. And especially even organizations like Disney, it's tragic. Disney has turned into really a front lines carrier of the LGBTQ agenda, and they're using their theme parks, they're using their platform as a way to indoctrinate children now with homosexual agendas. And so you guys need to recognize that. Listen, I have fond memories of Disney. I went to Disneyland a lot when I was a kid, and we took our kids to Disneyland. But to see what that's become, I could no longer support that that radical ideology and that radical push to be on the front lines of indoctrinating children. And Jesus said, you know, offenses will come, but woe to those by whom they come. And so Jesus says, hey, we can't avoid offenses. This is a sinful world. There's going to be sin everywhere. But there's a special woe, a special warning to those that perpetrate the offense and that cause any little one to stumble. And so a warning out there, if you're going to be on the front lines of causing little ones, young people, impressionable minds to stumble around this area of human sexuality and value and worth, you are going to have to pay a penalty and a cost. And certainly God will hold everyone accountable. And so we need to think about that. We also need to think about ourselves. God will hold us accountable for what we promote and how we steward the gospel, the truth that's been given to us. And so I would encourage you guys to do that and to be praying and to be standing on the side of what is true, what is good, and what is right. Which kind of leads me to my short devotion this morning. Just a thought, not in depth by any stretch of the imagination, but this morning I was reading through the one-year Bible again, and was in 2 Samuel and talking about the death of Absalom. Absalom being one of David's sons. David had many children. Solomon, of course, would be the ultimate one who would become the king after him. But Absalom was a bit of a problem for David. And well, most of David's children were problems for him because David was a bit of a derelict father, an absent father. David had this canny inability to be involved in his children's lives in the way that he should have. He lacked discipline, he lacked instruction, and it seems that though he turned a corner on some things with Solomon, but certainly his other children were outcomes and reflections of his unwillingness, or we might say lack of responsibility in his parenting. And Absalom, I mean, you guys think, if you think you have a dysfunctional family life, I want to tell you, David really had his son Amnon raped his sister Tamar, and then Absalom had him killed. And I mean, there's all these weird, crazy family dynamics going on within David's family. But Absalom basically came to the point where he wanted to usurp his father's throne. He didn't have respect for David. He didn't have respect for David's leadership. And so he started to plant seeds of doubt within the hearts of the people. He started to position himself as a kingly figure. He started to go to the city gate, and every time someone would want to come to the King David with a problem, he basically would say, "Oh, David won't listen to you, but I will, because I really care about you." And he started to deceptively win over the hearts of the people of Israel in rebellion against his father. That does not end well for him. Ultimately, he gained some traction and some support. But long story short, we find that ultimately in battle, Absalom ends up hanging from a tree. He's trying to escape some of Joab's soldiers. Joab is the general, one of the main generals of David's armies. So Absalom's trying to run. He's riding away on his donkey, and we don't know exactly, the language is not clear, but we're told that his long hair kind of gets caught up in a bunch of trees, and his donkey keeps going, goes out from under him, and he's stuck hanging from a tree. And Joab, who is pursuing Absalom's men, was given specific instruction by King David. David told his men, "Do not harm my son Absalom. Deal kindly with him, bring him back alive if you catch him. Basically, let's stomp out the rebellion, but I don't want to kill my son Absalom." And David's men heard this. Joab heard this. But Joab takes the situation into his own hands when he gets word that Absalom is hanging there from a tree and that David's men are unwilling to kill him. Joab takes 3 daggers, we're told, and sticks them into Absalom. And then all of Joab's armor bearers just tear into Absalom and kill him right there on the spot. Throw his body in a pit, cover it with a bunch of rocks. Word ultimately makes it back to David that his son Absalom is dead. Absalom is gone. David begins to weep and to cry and goes in his house and is just completely devastated that his son is gone. Even though his son was rebellious, even though his son had his brother killed, all of these sorts of things, even though his son tried to usurp the throne, David, I think, felt somewhat responsible, and in some ways he was, for what Absalom had become. And so David did not want to see his son die, and who would, even to that degree. And so David's brokenhearted. Joab basically goes and rebukes David and says, "We've saved your life. We've quelled this rebellion against your kingdom. You need to come out and stop moping around and tell your men thank you." Now, this whole story is convoluted, okay? And I think that's the reason I want to bring it up, is like, who is right? Who is wrong? Well, everyone was wrong. And the whole situation is messed up. And when I think of Joab's response specifically, I see a picture here of a man trying to do what he thought was best, but doing it in the wrong way. And that's what I want to pull out and leave this morning. We could go into a whole history lesson here, but for the sake of our time together, I really see that it's easy to try to do right things the wrong way. And Joab is a perfect picture of this. Joab was asked by his authority, by David, "Do not harm my son." But Joab, he knows David. He knows David will not discipline his son. David has a soft spot in his heart. David will let Absalom go, and this problem is going to keep going and going and going. And so I'm going to stop it. And so Joab takes the situation into his own hands, and he's thinking, you know what? I know David told me directly, "Do not harm my son," but I'm going to do what's best for David. I'm going to do what's best for the kingdom. And so he kills Absalom. In his mind, he's justifying it. In his mind, he's saying, I'm doing the right thing because David doesn't have the courage to do the right thing. David doesn't have the resolve and the strength to do the right thing. So I'm going to take matters into my own hands. I'm going to do what needs to be done. I'm going to get rid of this rebellion so that David's throne can be established and that the kingdom can be at peace. Now, in some ways, Joab's thinking was right. It was correct. David probably wouldn't have dealt with his son. The problems would have probably continued on. And so Joab thinks, David really needs to deal with this, and he's not going to. Where Joab went wrong was saying, I'm going to take it into my own hands to do what David should do. I'm going to do what David can't do and is unwilling to do. I'm going to do it myself. The problem with that, of course, is that Joab was stepping outside of his God-given authority, not for good reason, okay? Joab was working more out of disillusionment, anger, and frustration at David than he was actually trusting God and fearing God. This gets Joab in trouble because Joab continues this attitude of thinking, I know David's in charge, but David's incompetent, and so I need to make the decisions. In actuality, it's almost like Joab started to adopt the same mentality that Absalom had. Joab killed Absalom for being Absalom, but in doing so started to become an Absalom. Isn't that interesting? Joab ultimately sees David's, what he perceives as David's weakness. At the end of his life, he sides with Adonijah, David's other son, against Solomon, and he ends up, again, trying to take the reins of the kingdom into his own hands. And David ultimately has Joab killed for his pattern of rebellion, his pattern of disobedience. And here Joab thinks he's being faithful and loyal to David, but really he's not. Really, he's doing what he thinks is best. And the reason I bring this up is because I think we all need to be careful about justifying our actions and doing the right thing. And I say that lightly, doing the thing we think needs to be done, but doing it in a way that is sinful or that is rebellious or that oversteps God's authority. God would have taken care of Absalom. God would have dealt with David. Joab probably should have focused on doing the right thing the right way. Joab probably could have gone to David and said, "We've got Absalom, but David, I know you're weak. I know you're struggling with this, and we really need to deal with this rebellion. We really need to punish Absalom so that the kingdom can be established." He could have gone and done it the appropriate way, but he takes matters into his own hands. And I want to warn us all about that this morning, you guys, about taking matters into our own hands. Be careful when you just make decisions, rash decisions based on what you want and what you think is right, and you're tempted to compromise what you know the right way is in order to get it. I think we can do this with work, we can do it with family, we can do it with situations. We can try to manipulate a situation to get the right outcome, but we end up compromising. We end up taking matters into our own hands. We end up lying to people or manipulating a situation or being deceptive or overstepping authority or going around, the appropriate channels to get something accomplished. I don't know what it could be for you. I don't know what might come to mind. But that really stuck out to me, was that this whole story is a mess because everyone was doing what was right in their own eyes. Everyone was not considering God's authority in the matter, or authority even in general. Everyone was saying, I'm going to be in charge. I'm going to do it my way. Absalom, Joab, David was sort of complicit in the whole thing and just wasn't really doing anything. And so we need to be careful that we are submitting ourselves to the Lord's authority, that we're submitting ourselves to God. There is no doubt going to be times where you come up with a situation where you see someone should do something, but they're not, and you're gonna bypass everything and go do, go make it the way it should be. Just be careful with that. Be careful that you're not stepping into something that's not yours to step into. Be careful that you're considering the Lord and his authority. You know, this is just in the lane I understand. You know, these I've seen church splits because of these things, right? People see the pastor and the pastor's not doing things the right way. I'm gonna do it my way. Well, you know, they don't talk to the pastor, they don't pray about it, they just go and they start talking to people in the church, and they start taking matters into their own hands, and the next thing you know, it's like the church is splitting. Yeah, that could be a bad deal. But it doesn't just happen in churches. It happens in families, it happens with our own personal lives, it happens in workplaces. And so here's what we need to be mindful of. Lord, is my heart right? And Lord, not only is my heart right, but am I doing things in a way that honor you? Am I pursuing something in a right, in a godly, in a good way? You don't want to end up being someone who takes the wrong path to the right destination, because that can cause a lot of damage. And so what could this be for you? Well, the Holy Spirit knows. You know. And maybe it's nothing at all except just a good reminder to not bypass God's process, to not bypass God's design, to be careful when we decide to take matters into our own hands. If there's that prick in our conscience and in our heart saying, you know what, this probably isn't really the best way to handle this, even if it seems like the right thing to do, or the right, or should I say the right destination. If there's that check in your spirit saying, you know, I probably shouldn't go about it this way, because this isn't really a godly way to do this. Listen to that voice. Okay, that's probably the Holy Spirit giving you a check saying, go back to the drawing table. Is there someone you need to talk to? Is there something you need to get out on the table rather than taking control in your own way? Is there something you need to pray through? Is there counsel or wisdom you need to seek rather than just acting out of this rash, like, I know what's best kind of mentality? It's our tendency to do that. I've done it. We've all done it. And instead, we need to stop. We need to pause. We need to pray. We need to seek wisdom. We need to know, when am I overstepping my bounds, and what does God want me to do? And is that easy? Certainly not. But it's needed. It's necessary. And so good thought, good reminder this morning for us to think before we act, to not just simply do what seems best in our own eyes, but to seek, what does the Lord want me to do? What is the right way to do this, to handle a situation? And may God give us wisdom. Well, you guys, God bless you. I pray and hope that you have a great day, a great week in the Lord, shining for him. I hope you're encouraged today to take the gospel wherever you go. That is how we make disciples. It's that the gospel is in us. Paul said we have this treasure in earthen vessels, and we are ministers of God's reconciliation, and we take that everywhere we go. And so take it with you today, and may God be with you, go before you. I hope to see you Sunday as we're gathered back together. Invite a friend to church, a neighbor, and we're going to continue to see God do great things. I love you all. God bless you, and we will talk to you soon. Bye.